Hello and welcome. Now it has been quite a while since I last filmed a video, and I believe that was my packing video, so that was before I even went traveling. So I went for 2 months of travel and then I got back to Australia, and I've been back about 2.5 months now, and I pretty much hit the ground running with work, and I took on so much work as soon as I got back, working for like multiple weeks on end without having any day off, and I was working like day and night as well because I'm doing like 24-hour shifts. Like, it's been crazy how much I've been working, and although that has been really good because I have brought in a lot of money, I've been able to save a lot of money, it has also been not so good because I've sacrificed so many things that make me happy just so that I have time to work. You know, time is so precious, and I've given most of it to my job. So I've had to relook at this and just go, actually, that's not working for me anymore. I really want to have space to create things, to create YouTube videos, and to work on some of my other projects that I have on the side that don't really matter to anyone else, but are really, really important to me because they make me happy and are important. So anyway, I've done that. I started to cut down my diary, and hopefully in the coming year it will also start to look a little bit more balanced. That is the goal. So I'm back, and the first video I want to start and make and challenge I want to get onto, because I do love myself a good challenge, is a no buy year. Now, if you've been subscribed to my channel for a little while, thank you for sticking around with my inconsistency. You may remember some of my no spend challenge years, or also like my budgeting videos, where I do really restrict my financial outgoings, which therefore restricts sort of like everything that comes in, and is very similar to what like a no buy year might be. But my focus has always really been on the finance and like the figures and how much I'm spending. And although a no buy year could be that for someone else, it's not what I want my energy, or like my reason for doing it isn't for financial reasons. I love saving money. I love creating videos around it. I'm so happy to create more videos around it, but I've also gotten pretty good at saving money, and that's not really where I need to put my energy anymore, because I think it's just become kind of a pretty good habit. There are times where I do get a little bit out of control with my spendings, and it's not the money that I regret spending, but it's the extra access or amount of things that I bring into my life, and often there's not necessarily the most sustainable option either. So with the no buy year, my plan is to really focus on the sustainability and also trying to be more minimal as well. So I've always really connected to the principles around minimalism and trying to live a more low waste or zero waste life. And you know, previous videos I have really talked about that and have been really connected to that in the past years. However, I've definitely slipped off the bandwagon, and I've definitely gotten really lazy in areas where it's quite sad, because I do believe in these things. I just let laziness and also some personal circumstances, which meant I was going through a hard time, which meant I didn't have the excess energy to put to things that might necessarily take up more space in myself than I was willing to give them at the time. But anyway, ultimately it was also a lot of laziness, and that's the thing I want to address with the no buy year. So my plan is to have some rules / guidelines, but to be flexible with them, because I'll explain what I mean, because when I've done no spend challenges or really strict budgets, I have been somewhat successful, but I've often had times where I've broken that, or I have felt restricted and then I felt guilty when I have broken it, and then I have all these sort of negative feelings around that. And I just don't think this is helpful. It's the same things that happened when I had my zero waste, when I tried to do a zero waste year, where I tried to create the least amount of waste as possible. And a lot of those videos, a lot of those updates is really just me sitting there being guilty and feeling guilty and talking about that. And I don't think that's necessarily helpful for me, helpful for anyone else. And I really want to try and focus on the positive and not create this guilt mentality for myself because I set such limits or whatever, or rules, and I'm like, I have to stick to this. And so yeah, with the no buy year, there are going to be rules / guidelines, but there is going to be flexibility, because ultimately humans are flexible, changeable people. Like, this is just what we do. Things change, our ideas change, our needs change, our interests change, and I think, yeah, it's important that I just have space for that, because otherwise I'll just be feeling guilty and not happy. So the no buy year, what are my rules? They're kind of like what anyone else I think has done. I've watched a few other videos around it to get inspired, and I'm pretty much going to be not bringing in any new physical items whatsoever that isn't 100% necessary. So that means no clothes, no decor, no books, no bed linen, no I don't know what else I can think, like no cosmetics or anything like this, and I'm only going to be replacing things that I absolutely need and that I've completely used through, run out, or broken and I can't get fixed in some way. So that looks like pretty much that, you know, if I use up shampoo and conditioner, I will repurchase those. I don't think I necessarily need conditioner. I've figured out a way that I can work without that, but yeah, I will repurchase those, but my plan is to not necessarily go to the store and buy a bottle of shampoo or whatever, but to really try and find the most sustainable option. So in the past I've used the Dr. Bronner's soap bar, but this is what I want to say is like I have become lazy, and currently I do have a plastic bottle of shampoo in my shower. So there's things like that that, you know, if I am going to use up my toothpaste, which I currently have a plastic tube of toothpaste, which is ridiculous because I know how to make my own. I've made my own for several years and used it consistently. But I don't know what happened. Everything changed and I got super lazy. And anyway, so I want to then, if I do need to replace that, it will be my own homemade toothpaste, and going for the most sustainable option with the products that I do need to replace out of necessity, and really being tough on myself on what is really what's really a necessity, and then here's a few things that I have anyway because they really make me happy, if that's like a bright red lipstick or whatever it might be. So that is what I'm planning to do. I will also have the exception with some clothing items in terms of if I'm potentially thinking about going to upstate New York again, and if that's the case I will probably need to get a snow jacket and some snow boots, and in that, if I do have to purchase things because of like extreme weather conditions, then I will go and get those items. But my plan is to always go secondhand or try and borrow from someone else or find the most sustainable option that I can. So anything that does get replaced in this time or brought into my life is going to be the most sustainable thing that I can get my hands on in that time, or like that I'm willing to pay for, because sometimes there are sustainable products but they are often quite expensive, so it might be cheaper or easier for you to get a second-hand one. So that is part of my plan or part of my rules, and the things that I am going to spend money on are going to be experiences. Like if I buy a flight ticket, I'll buy a flight ticket, because it's not for me, it's not, the no buy isn't about saving money, you know, it's about focusing on the minimalistic aspect and also the most sustainability aspect. So I will be flying, like if I want to go traveling somewhere, I will buy a plane ticket, even though I know that isn't super sustainable, but I also feel like having experiences in life is very important to developing like a well-rounded person. And when I go traveling, I do try and like volunteer where I go and stay with friends and things like that, and do what I can to, yeah, limit sort of the consumption or the usage of extra resources. But I also might be moving to another country, and if that's the case then I will have to get a plane ticket for that, and also like visiting my family. And then another thing is going to be around like if I go to eat out with my friends, and yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and that's the thing that makes me happy, and like me and my best friend love to go to the movies together, and so that's also something that I'm willing to put money behind. So certain experiences, but I want to not limit them, but really limit them to a degree, because I don't want to eat out like 3 times a week. That's ridiculous. I don't even have enough friends to do that. But to really like choose specific events so that they're meaningful, I have a lot more gratitude, and they, yeah, I remember them more, or they're more significant, rather than doing it all the time, because that's also just not someone, or not the way that I am naturally. Yeah, and I think that's, and then obviously like groceries and very basic things, but also in terms of like if I'm going to go grocery shopping, I'm going to try and make it more sustainable in terms of trying to reduce the packaging, because I have been buying things out of laziness that are packaged, and also not trying to spend money on like the really fancy dairy-free ice cream that's like $12. Instead, like go without that and maybe get something else instead, and just trying to like make those little sacrifices so that like maybe once in a while when I get that ice cream, it means a lot more to me because I've waited, you know. Like I think that's so important, and one thing that I really have learned over the years with minimalism is like if you limit yourself when you do indulge, like it's so good. Like it's, you know, you remember it, or the, you know, if I buy a new thing, it really like, it makes me happy for much longer than things ever used to. So in saying that, I also wanted to talk about like another motivator for why I want to really do this challenge, especially from a point of minimalism, because I've been back in Australia for nearly a year and a half. So August 2018 I moved back to Australia. And in that time, I have bought and brought into my life a lot of new things. And actually, I went through my whole house and counted all of those items because, I don't know, I'm able to remember what's new and like when I got things, because I don't buy loads of things maybe compared to the average person, but I don't like to compare myself to the average person. I like to compare myself to myself and my own standards, and I know that I can do a lot better. But pretty much I went through and counted how many things that were in my life that were new, and I got to a figure that was just under 300. It was like 282, but there's probably a few other things that I have like already given away, or I purchased and then I actually returned and got the money back for them because I realized I didn't need them. There was definitely a few notebooks that I did that. I purchased them and I had them for a few weeks, and then I went back and I returned them because I was like, actually, I really don't need these things. So yeah, I've had a lot of new stuff come in, and because I've moved into like a bit more of an apartment, I had to buy, well, I didn't have to buy, but I did buy lamps and a bedside table and a carpet, and I bought another set of bed linen and things like this that aren't necessarily do make me feel happy and homey, but I feel like I went a little bit further than I actually needed to go. So this is why I want to do this challenge. Please let me know if you've done anything like this, if you'd be willing to maybe join along if it's something you're interested, or if you have any suggestions, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you for sticking around, and I hope that you're doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye!